Hi there, Ozysturm here, country Victorian gamer of Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, X-Wing, Dystopian Wars, Flames of War, Battletech, and many other games. First off, an apology. This is currently week after Gen Con 2024. It is also 2 weeks after San Diego Comic Con, and theoretically 3 weeks after Mini Extravaganza. And unfortunately, this video was shot prior to that, but with some delays with editing a few issues, as well as dealing with some family issues, I have unfortunately got a bit behind with a number of items. So hopefully this video will go out today or potentially tomorrow on Friday the 8th of August for anyone to comment on, or just because they like what content that I'm doing. This video is regarding my last of the Imperials. So it's concentrating on doing the last of the Imperial Special Forces, Iden Verso, the Darth Vader. All of them have been undercoated black to start off with. As you may remember from my previous videos, all the rest of them had been undercoated either white or grey. But seeing the main colour palette for these units is all in the black range, I decided to try something different and do a complete black to basically skip 1 or 2 steps that I would normally have to do if I went from a lighter colour to a dark colour. Enjoy. First off, what we need to do is to make sure that all of our primary colours are done. So obviously they've all been undercoated black, but with the example of the 2 models that I've got, I now need to just make sure that those glossy areas around the helmet, the gun, the armor helmet of Darth Vader, the droid, etc. is all done with this Warplock bronze. This will give it a nice gloss look for when I starting to add in more of the primary colors for the units and all secondary colors. Now, as you can see, I have grouped the models. On the right, you've got Inferno Squad. In the center, you've got Darth Vader. And on the left, you've got a normal Imperial Special Forces. To begin with, as you may have noticed, I painted 2 models. And let me just get them aside so you can see both of them together. And one of them I chose to do as Inferno Squad, as you do. The other one as a normal Imperial Special Forces. But how am I going to make it any different from a just straight black uniform like the TIE pilots? How to make them elite? Well, one of the ways of doing it is adding a colour. Inferno Squad already has red coloration. Red lens, red blood stripe, red on the helmets, on the shoulders, on the patch, etc. So, is there any others? Looking online on the internet, yes, there are images of Imperial Special Forces like Inferno Squad, but rather than having red coloration, it is a blue. In this way, I chose to do a Macragge blue, and similar to the base on quite a lot of my models, which looked pretty good. So, to begin with, to do the blue, obviously I'm going to start off with doing the helmet, doing the line through the center of the helmet. I'm going to also do around the eyelets of the helmet, but I'm going to leave the lenses of the actual of this unit of Special Forces black. Mainly because I felt if I had too much blue on that helmet, it will start to really dominate the model too much. I also included blue on the belt, on the high ridge marks of the belt. Pinstriped with blue as well, and trying to make sure that the lines that I'm using are nice and clean and crisp. This same technique I'll be using for the Inferno Squad. So if I do make a mistake and go too thick with the pinstriping, I can then go back and use some of this Abaddon black or matte black to clean up those lines. Darth Vader obviously is going to be a special case. He's already had the undercoat. He's already had the gloss paints put on so far with the Woolblock bronze. But I'm going to put him aside and concentrate on getting the Inferno Squad while I'm waiting for this normal unit of Imperial Special Forces to dry. To that, I am going to use this Memphis Red as shown. And basically using a sharp brush, I'm going to start using the resources of the likes from the internet and from comics to work out where on Iden Verso's uniform is red. So typically, from what I've seen on the TV, on the internet, and in comments, she has red on the shoulder pads. They also usually have a red unit badge, pinstripes, and as you can see, they also have their control panel. Now, I haven't decided to put the control panel on Iden. I thought I might just leave it blank at this point in time. No real harm in that. I just feel as though the control panel that she would have is more if she is just been piloting her TIE fighter. That. Either way, working down the model, trying to work out the exact markings where it is, using those resources from the internet comic does help. Using very small amounts also help. I won't need to do too much red on all of these models because the majority of the red is actually on the helmet, and all three of these models are actually named characters which have heads rather than a helmet on. So that way I won't need to. So at this point in time, just cleaning up as best as possible around those hard to reach points. Ever so lightly to complete all the main characters. So all the characters have had their base paint put on. The next point that I need to do is now do those things that are different from all of them, and that is doing the faces on Iden and her two character companions. Now, all of them in the Star Wars universe has a very pale flesh. And I'm going to use this elf flesh and flat flesh combination as a base coat for their faces. Now, It then goes on to say that Iden Verso's face is a tan colour.
After I've done
so by using a different blend or different ratio of those tones of elf flesh to flat flesh, I have been able to create some different colorations.
The faces came
out
while
okay. This one is more of a tan, the other ones are a lot more paler. You'll also notice that the colours of the hair have been done to what has been said on Wikipedia,
as much of the detail on the faces
or Star Wars Wiki,
and using
with
the likes of
Mirko,
the pictures on the internet from the game,
having a very light blonde colour, which I achieved by doing a brown then a yellow highlight over it.
Especially
while
for
the other one, the sniper, also had a dark brown, which I basically used.
I've also gone ahead and used a gloss varnish.
Now, I'm going to use gloss varnish
over all the armor
to go over a lot of the likes of the droid and
shine.
The unit itself, so that your blue colours and the red colours pop out.
The last section of doing
if they're on armour. If they're on cloth,
over the model,
then I won't be using that same technique. It's only for the armour part, so that it all blends in together.
On the bases. I've also...
You'll also notice that with the Special Forces and the
also done
Imperial Special Forces,
on
I have done all the control panel.
A little bit hard
in
to pick
the
up
various colours,
but
I have left it black
the buttons are all coloured now,
and I've done the bases in two separate colours. So one to denote Inferno Squad, one to denote
and then
normal,
once that is done,
Imperial
the varnishing and the
Forces.
stonework on the base.
With Darth Vader now,
so
being
first
the
off, with
very
my Darth
final
Vader
model that I need to do,
I
need to work out exactly where colours are going to go.
And I've also used that
obviously his lightsaber will need to have a reddish coloration to it, which I will use a yellow as a base coat and then a red ink over the top of it to give it a really nice glowy red. I'm also going to use this gunmetal on quite a lot of the control panel and the switches on the side of his belt,
also the two nibs,
as well as those
on the
dots
helmet
that are on his helmet, sensor nozzles, to show off the colour.
Now that I've put some of the metal on,
most of the time you do see Darth Vader being painted a lot, and there are a large number of examples of how to paint Darth Vader, which is why I made a decision not to show all the steps that I have done to paint him. What I will do is show the final result for the unit. And here in the front you can see Darth Vader with his very light, bright coloured lightsaber, Inferno Squad on the left, and on the right an normal Imperial Special Forces. Up close, you can pretty much see the difference between his glove being a shiny look to the matte fabric of his trousers. So, if you have been following my channel, or if you are a first-time viewer, I am a country Victorian gamer down in Australia, and I have more so played Star Wars Armada, Star Wars X-Wing, Battletech, and quite a few other games, and I've just pretty much finished my second army for Star Wars Legion In this case, this Imperials. And this is basically a simple summary of how I felt about painting this army. What sort of techniques did I need to concentrate on? What skills did I need to learn to paint them all correctly? One thing I found when producing the army itself is that I needed to understand how black on white and white on black works when it comes to paints. In many ways, the techniques that I needed to use to create a simple plain color white, I had to be very careful about what was the undertones and what were the tones that I wanted to produce over it. I also needed to understand that not all whites have a good coverage. Some of them are very streaky or translucent. So I needed to be aware of which type of white that I needed to use. In the end, I used, for all the stormtroopers, I used what's called Valero Paints Dead White. But rather than using the straight white on it, I also thinned it out with a bit of water, which allowed me to produce, with all of these stormtroopers, a more consistent non-streak color. After figuring out the white color, I needed to figure out, okay, the black color. And this is especially true for the Special Forces, Darth Vader, droids, the Navy troopers, technician, etc. And although it's fairly easy to say Abaddon black or matte black or whatever, what you will find when you look at quite a lot of the Star Wars images that you can see both online through the computer or comics, etc., is that they have subtle differences in black. Most common that you'll see is Darth Vader, how his choke plate has like streaks of very gloss black and then matte black right next to it. Getting that gloss versus matte right is quite important. And I found two ways of doing it. One was by using my Warp Lock bronze mix that I had of just the blackness or the separation of the bronze at the bottom, but more so use the blackness at the top to do all of the colors. The other option that I found more recently was attempting to use the likes of my gloss varnish to give it the highlights that I needed. Lastly, of course, was the Imperial officers and General Veers as well. They are slightly different than your normal typical Imperial trooper or your Imperial stormtrooper, etc. They needed to be in a different color as well. They needed to be in a more or less a green color. So that were the three primary colors for the infantry type models. When it came to the vehicles, I wanted to be very much plain and have grays or metallics. And with the droid, I wanted it to be much like the coloration that we saw in the actual movies. With the greys, I attempted to do some crackling medium. Didn't quite work quite well, and I think if I went back and did it again, I'd maybe do the models slightly different, mainly doing an undertone of black first before I do an overtone of the crackle medium or the grey, then crackle medium. Beyond what I've got on the table at the moment, as you can see, I've got 4 HQs. I've got 1, 2, 3 troop choices at current rate of 5, unit of 4 plus 1 extra. I've got an E-Web blaster, I've got speeder bikes, 2 special forces, and the ATSD. Beyond that, what I need to do, I'm going to need to get at least another unit of stormtroopers, perhaps even a second one, to fill out that roster for just troopers itself. Scout troopers, another very important thing to get to at least complete a second or third choice for the special forces. I'd also probably look to getting another set of speeder bikes, as well as I'm hoping to get a ATDT for another alternative heavy support. Obviously there is no rules for ATDT yet, but I'll probably see what I can find through the community to see what they think that I should be able to use. Again, this is not a tournament list, this is not a tournament, this is more casual, so I get to do a little bit more as long as my opponent is happy to have custom stuff. Beyond that, I'm thinking probably Cad Bane as another choice. Seeing I got the cards in the Star Wars Essentials kit and the upgrade card pack 2, I probably won't get the model itself. I may look to get something different, whether it be 3D printed or from another type store. Either way, I hope you have enjoyed my videos on my Imperial forces and the steps that I've taken to paint through them. I will be looking to get back in the next couple of weeks to painting some Battletech just prior to my Battletech Kickstarter arriving. The train whistle you're hearing in the distance, that is Malden Historical Railways. They come along here every couple of hours. I never know when they come, but they are a really great attraction for anyone in the Castlemaine area that would like to ride an authentic steam train from Castlemaine to Malden or Malden to Castlemaine. But for now, from Ozysturm, I'll say please like, please subscribe, leave a comment on this or any of my other videos, and I'll see you on the table next time. Bye for now.